As you could tell, I am not in my usual locale, but nothing shall stop us from hosting this weekly podcast. I am up in Pennsylvania, guys. I've escaped the Florida heat. I said no mas, no mas. It was humid. It was muggy. I walked outside the other day to take the trash out, and I immediately started sweating. I sweat dripping out the butt. And I was like, fuck. I was like, honey, we got to get out of here. So we came up to PA. It's actually where I'm from. So we are at my family house and where I grew up. And you could tell from the curtains that this is not my house because those are old lady curtains. So that's kind of where I'm at. You can even see, look at this is a mug I made my dad when I was a kid. So they got all the memorabilia everywhere.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I love being up here, though. But I figured got to keep the show's got to go on, and we got to keep hosting this thing, guys.
That's right. Consistency pays off.
Can't let our fans down. I didn't want all the fans to be
That's
disappointed.
right.
That's what we do. That's
Yeah.
what we do it for. That's what we do it for.
This is not
It
for
would be
us.
ruined if we didn't have this conversation on Friday for them.
I mean, honestly, we
around
could
them.
do this on FaceTime, but we were when we do this, we're like, man, this would be a huge disservice to the world at large if we did not publicize our conversations on a
Absolutely.
platform like a podcast. And that's how
Absolutely.
Let's Talk Real Estate was born and stuff.
And the world has been better since.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But, I didn't always do this. I'm a introvert, so I like to be in my place. I'm a, what do you call it? Hermit, homebody.
Yes.
Which is always surprising
Oh my
to
God,
hear.
Yeah.
Always surprising to hear.
I love my home, but this is, my childhood home. But, there's always a time when, you don't have that ability to do that, right? Like hustle and grinding and that misconception of like, you got to be working all the time. So it is nice to be able to take the month and to come up to PA, especially after we were just at the lake in June. So it's nice.
You're there for the whole month? Or wait.
All the way basically until my daughter's swim practice starts in August. So we're going to go through, we'll probably be back like the 1st of August. So yeah, we're
Okay.
up here the rest of the month.
Nice. One day that'll be me in North Carolina.
Rah.
But for now,
Next year.
I'm
Next year-
here enduring the humidity.
Next year, because our IOP Center is officially out, and that is
It is
a $1 billion
officially out.
company in the making.
Mhm.
We made our first sale. I was about to post it on Instagram. Stay tuned for the Instagram post. We made our first sale, although we had so many people setting up demos and stuff. One of the first people that we had talked to has officially paid for it. So the rest of all the other payments and subscribers we have, although are important,
Mm-hmm.
nobody beats the feeling of that first sale. So it's a huge step up.
Validation.
Can we print out like the Stripe or Chargeify receipt of the first sale and add it to the sports
Yeah, it's like
trophies
putting
and
the
everything
dollar.
you have?
Yeah, like the people with
Yeah.
the dollar of their business.
Just put it up. We got all the plaques and stuff. We'll just throw it up there.
Spelling bee champion, soccer
Yeah.
trophies. Yeah, a lot of good
Yeah.
stuff. No, that's super cool, man. And I've been pumped for our IOP Center. We've been talking about that a lot. We'll continue to talk about that a lot just because it serves a massive, massive need in the space. But I'm pumped for Papa P to be officially in the SAS game. Officially in the SAS game.
Man, I don't
So
think
that
they
first
fucking know
sale's
what's
cool.
coming. I
Yeah.
don't think they know what's coming. They think I'm coming to take their lunch. I'm just coming to take all meals. I'm coming to take it all, baby. I'm coming to take every single meal, snack, and hors d'oeuvre that you got. The important thing, though, what I was telling John, I think is important to note is, we got people of all sizes talking. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I wanted to bring it up for like REI Op Center. My original intention was for myself because we have like over 3 million rows, like records, I call them rows of data. And one of the people I talked to only had let's just say less than a dozen Excel files, right? You know what I mean? Like they didn't need a lot of data for what they do, and everyone's got their own way of running their business. But even then, they wanted to get it organized. And I think it speaks volumes for how real estate investors are starting to say no more for how they handle their data, and they're looking for a better way to do it. And that's really what we're providing. And what I think is I've talked to people because we're doing, a lot of people after the webinar wanted to have conversations. different people, man. Like someone's doing probates and they want all their probate data organized and they don't have to do macros. It comes down to the organization aspect of it. You got to know your data. And I think that's what's really cool about it. So yeah, that first sale kind of like John said is validation, but yeah, I'm gonna hang it up, Carlos. I'm gonna hang it up.
He's coming, Papa P's coming for all your lunch food, and if you happen to have any high quality water. So be on
Oh
the
yeah, I'm
lookout
coming
for
for
that.
I'm coming for that. Listen, next big industry, water. Like that, I feel is gonna be. I'm being serious, man. Water is the next thing, man. You gotta have clean
I was
water.
talking to I was talking to my family last night about like how it's interesting this is off topic, but real quick, it's interesting how like from the 20s to like now, we've all gone to like how can we do more like processed foods, or like less home cooking, like same thing with like water, all of that. And like now I feel like we're kind of like in a little bit of a revolution of how is our bodies actually designed to function and survive, and water is a very big important part of that. So
I don't think it's off topic if you understand the basic pattern of human behavior, because all humans go through that. They're lazy and everything reverts back. So you're saying to yourself, how can I make this cheaper? How can I make this easy? And at a certain point, we love it, we love it, we love it, we adopt it. And at a certain inflection point, you say to yourself, wait a second, this isn't as good as I thought it was, right? Same thing with the internet and social media. And after your knowledge catches up, right, your intellect of the tech or whatever it is catches up to what you're doing, you say to yourself, wait a second, this isn't good for me, or this isn't healthy, or wait, yeah, I'm saving time by not cooking and putting a processed meal in, but wait, now you got people wanting to garden, wanting to go to fresh markets, wanting to pay extra for organic. You got people cutting their phones off. I saw somebody selling literally a fucking wooden box that you put your cell phone in and you close it and you put it away. And I'm like, you just like, people can't even just put their phones away. They need all it is like a jewelry box. The guy selling it says like, stay intentional or something. And you slide your phone in and they're selling that shit for like $30. And so we're reverting back. We do the same thing with a lot of stuff, man. And it's the same thing how we got bigger with cars and then we reverted back to smaller, right? Like we got really big and then smaller. Same thing with houses. We got everyone wanted a micro McMansion of 3,000, 4,000 square feet. Now,
and the tiny house movement. Yeah.
People want less. So I think that's what happens is we get caught up with it. So no, I don't think you're wrong with that, man. I think it's definitely on topic. It goes to pattern behavior.
Yeah.
Like macro pattern behavior. That's super interesting. And yeah, they sell those same wood phone boxes, the $30 ones. They sell Gucci and designer ones in Miami, the same ones for $3,000. So in case you want to get a good, no, I'm kidding.
Well, I was telling, going on the same topic, it goes to real estate. I just wanted to bring it full circle back to real estate investing. It's the same thing of what we were talking about earlier, John, where when SMS came out and automated follow-up sequences came out, everybody jumps on that bandwagon. Where my business model, I recognized there was problems with that. So I wanted it to be where I could manually come over and I do my manual follow-up. I do everything manually because I felt like as things were going with technology, people are like, wait a second, SMS was cool 3 years ago when you're blasting everybody and it was new and sellers were following for it. But now sellers are like, wait a second, you're one of 1,000 texts today, opt out, opt out, opt out. Your response rates go down, delivery rates are going down because of TCPA laws. And so I was telling John, I was like, this is why we pivoted a couple of years ago back to the manual processing of things, because that's just not sustainable. I mean, Twilio's locking people down. Platform we use shut accounts down for SMSing. You can't even SMS out of it. And so now you're going to start to see people reverting back to that because it's the new fancy, was overused, and now they're settling back to our old ways of one-on-one conversations.
Tried and true. Being a human.
Being a human. Manual conversations with people and training your people to do that. Right? I think that's a huge thing on it. And so, yeah, I thought that was pretty funny when you said that, how it all related together.
It does relate. I didn't even like tie that together when we were talking about that the other day. Or this morning. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Very interesting.
We train our employees every day, man. I try to keep the employees up on tap when I can.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How's that work when you're? I mean, you're a remote team anyways, but you're in PA now. I guess not much changes, huh?
Yeah,
It's
for
just
a
another
couple weeks too, which is
benefit, right?
interesting.
That's not true, man. So not much changes. So a year ago, when I had already started my virtual team. I came up to PA back a year
Mm-hmm.
ago in May, and I was still hosting. I had no sales manager, so I was still hosting all my morning meetings. I remember driving with the kids and everyone in the car, telling everyone to be quiet, doing the sales meeting on Zoom and
Oh my
hosting it. You know
gosh.
what I mean? Training, script training, everything, driving through Virginia and having shit service. And then this year, as I've worked out those processes, I have phenomenal managers. I can't speak highly enough for my managers of each department. They all handle it. And so, yeah, it is different in the respect of I just told them on Monday we were going to be out because me and my wife work together. We had our high end meeting, our level up meeting, and it was like, hey, you guys are in charge of all the meetings. You're going to do this, this, and this. We'll be back on deck on Thursday after we settle in, get our computer set up, and they handled it,
Hmm.
man.
That's awesome.
So yeah, so it worked that way. But I'm back at it. I
Winning
mean, I had
team.
my sales meeting this morning. I mean, I don't want to. I don't know. I don't want to not be doing it. So
Hmm. Hmm.
I love it.
It's a nice a benefit to having a remote team for sure. I mean, like, yeah, if everybody was in the office, I guess you could like zoom in and do stuff in the office. So maybe that's not a point, but it is fun, like the idea of being able to work from anywhere.
Hmm. Back to regular Monday meetings for Papa P and team, holding it
Yeah.
down virtually. Yeah, and
Hmm.
I mean the benefits that you get from the happiness levels you guys get from being in PA and less sweaty and enjoying the scenery there is there's pros and
So,
cons. There's not a perfect situation everything. So you'll enjoy that despite like maybe being more productive in the office or more acclimated to the office environment. So it's a challenge. It's a challenge for me. I mean, both the setups, DC, because I was just traveling the last couple weeks. So happy to be home, despite some internet issues. Which, knock on wood, I don't think I've had any internet delays. Maybe it's when
might be
I'm
all right
hosting a
right
meeting.
now.
Yeah, but super happy to be home. But hats off to both you gentlemen that are super productive on the road. It's definitely a little bit more challenging for me, but definitely enjoyed and pros and cons to all those for sure. All those
Hmm.
situations you might be working in.
Yeah. Just you got to have the right people, man. And if you don't, you got to know when to cut them.
Talk about that. Wrap to us on that. John's shaking his head yes for those that aren't watching on YouTube. Wrap to us on that with your experience.
You guys saw my post on Monday, right?
Uh-huh.
And just another person let go. So like our closers team, we're always revolving. So I run a fully virtual team. We're always revolving door of people because we're looking for the right people. We do have a set of core people. And this person, she was good, man. Like she started out strong, got a couple deals, hitting her metrics, and then like a week, no metrics, then back, and I think she hit like a dry spell. And so we train every day and we try and we motivate and we're giving all the tools and everything you could possibly do from more everyday morning training, sales process training, call reviews, the whole thing, man. But she lost belief in herself.
Mm.
And every time I would talk to my manager or the team leader, and I would talk to him, and I'd be like, because he sends me a daily report, and I'd see it, and I'd be like, man, tell me more. Like he's like, I just don't. He's like, I don't think she thinks she could do it. I asked her what she was going to work on today, and the numbers are less. Her expectations kept lowering. Right? I want to make 3 to 5 offers today, and then it was like, if I can make 2 offers only, if I can make 1 offer, and our minimum metrics are like 2.5 offers a day, I think is what it is, or 3 to 5. We
Hmm.
say if you can make 5 offers a day, phenomenal. But honestly, you need to be around 2.5, 3 offers a day. Um, and then it just kept.
Get low on Laura.
And then we noticed that when she was on the phone with people, a lot of salespeople have. And Carlos knows you're in sales. You can sometimes get the yips on doing the ask, right? Asking for the
Mm-hmm.
price, the purchase, the sale, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so we noticed that started happening where she was too afraid to give the correct number, even though she knew it because she's trained. She was afraid to do it,
Hmm.
and we let it slide too long. Probably about a month and a half too long, just because.
How long had
And
she
it
been
was
with you guys?
I'm gonna say like January. I think it was February. Don't quote
Like
me
Okay.
a
on that.
6 month.
So yeah, and she came out of the gate strong, man. Got a bunch of deals, you
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? Like so, and then she has some contracts that fell out, which I think was demoralizing for her. But we do pretty good on
Yeah.
training people to say you're gonna expect 50% to fall out. Our fallout rate isn't 50%. Or our success rate is higher, I would say. But
Mm-hmm.
I train people to expect 50 because I'd rather you expect half of them not to
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
through, and then when you do get your bonuses and you see your sales closing, it only motivates you more. But anyway, we let it hang, man, and I liked her. She was a
Mm-hmm.
good human,
Mm-hmm.
like
You know, it's interesting. Hearing what you're saying is like I think there's two parts to this, right? There's the like keeping somebody longer than you should conversation, which like we're definitely we'll dive into. But I think it's important just to take note of the fact that had you guys not like you weren't tracking metrics, you weren't doing daily reporting, you weren't doing daily sales meetings where you could see that somebody like that could fly under the radar.
and they have with us before. They have.
Hmm.
I mean,
When
we
they're just
recently just
not in it. I mean,
yeah.
they're trained enough, they show up, they clock in on time, they're doing the job, right?
Hmm.
As a far like I mean, and you've been noticed that she's not necessarily now like the metrics because you're
The
tracking
metrics
that.
aren't there. So
Yeah.
we started noticing, and I was talking to a guy, a huge Investor Fuse user, Tyler, yesterday, and we were talking about it, and I was explaining to him about how we can judge how good you're doing by how many calls you make. Like my closers shouldn't be talking to more than 50 people, and really, how many dials does it take you to get to that? We're only giving you the
Mhm.
best lead. So if I see you dialing 100 people and you're not even getting 50 calls out of it, one, that's way too many dials for a closer for my team. That means people aren't picking up, which means they're
Mhm.
blocking you, ghosting you. You're doing something wrong, or you're dialing bad numbers on purpose. And so we could start, because we are tracking. So we could start to
Yeah.
see that. And we started noticing where one guy's over here talking for 3 hours a day, dialing only like 40 to 60 people. She's over here dialing 110 people a day, only getting an hour and 45, and that's below our metrics. If you're not getting over 2 hours, honestly, we want more 3 hour talk times. That'd be
Mhm.
phenomenal. 4 hours means you're just fucking crushing it. Usually you're hitting that when you're getting contract signed. But on a
Yeah.
non-contract type of day, we're usually trying to be between the 2 and 3. So when you're falling below that, you know,
Mm. Speaks volumes to tracking your metrics. Like it just tells that story of what an employee does. As long as those metrics are clearly aligned to, their job and their
it's
role.
it's all mathematical. It's
Yeah.
all very, and I did it on a percent. I wanted to be clear. We're not going to get into this right now, but this is a longer convo. I did it as a percentage of my ability. Yeah, I had to
Hmm.
have the
Hmm.
expectation that nobody was going to be as good as me. So
Right.
I said it where I may talk for 4 hours a day. I knew somebody from Colombia isn't going to, and there are some. I'm not going to weed them all out, but you just got to set your
Yeah.
expectations properly.
Mm-hmm.
But
Sure.
just going back onto it, like we had a guy my manager caught because our processes are good, and they weren't a year and a half ago. They weren't good. 2 years ago, we're not good. Um, he was working two jobs,
At the same time.
two calling jobs, and we caught him.
Oh my God.
His numbers weren't lining, and so we don't watch our. So we have Time Doctor. We don't watch it religiously,
Yeah.
but we watch it when something else triggers it. So
Yeah.
his numbers, his numbers weren't adding up of what he was supposed to do. Like we know when you're training, like how fast you should be responding to us. We give you 10 properties to value for training. I know how long that should take the average person. And so
Hmm.
when it didn't, I remember Raul's like, he's putting his morning report, and I called him up immediately, and I was like, what the I was like, he's doing what? And he gave him the ultimatum, man. And it's like, like you just got to catch those things. They will try
Yeah.
that. So
The wealth of knowledge you have from running a remote team is pretty.
Oh yeah.
In real estate, I mean, I run a remote team as well, and uh, we've had problems like this before. I think more in the realm of keeping people longer than we should have because we liked them,
yeah,
um, and a combination of like they weren't performing slash the business didn't need them at the time, um, and making sure the business is profitable from a standpoint of like who's on the roster. And then at the same time too, we weren't tracking metrics either.
mm,
So like we had people this was like 4 years ago, that would fly under the radar. Just like total, just like, wait, what are you doing? And we kept them because we liked them. Because when we got on a meeting, it was fun to have them around. We all got along well.
Oh, that's the killer, dude, right there.
And it's like, oh, everything's hunky dory. Because when we're on a meeting, everything feels great. But if you don't have the metrics that are tracking their daily job, especially in a remote, I mean, if we're in an office, you should still have metrics. But it's so easy to walk to their stand behind and be like, "So, how's it going today?"
Somebody working 2 jobs in the office.
And John, I just, right, that'd be hard. But I actually did catch somebody doing that, though, and it was very obvious because they would keep stepping out on the phone, and it was right before he had transitioned. It was before he transitioned out to steal, and go do it on his own type thing. You could tell because I was like, bro, like patterns. It's all behavior patterns. You could tell your behavior patterns. But that was my biggest thing, John, what you said right there. It's easy to run an in-office team with basic metrics without a real clear-cut process and system. And so when I transitioned from my in-office team to a virtual team, I went at it with the same mentality, and I struck out. I think I don't know these numbers for fact, but I would say I set myself financially and like goal-wise back 6 months from that mistake alone, where it took me that long to catch up because I was ignorant to the fact that I can't run the team the same way. So say I couldn't have the same training process. I couldn't just hop on a phone and say, hey, here's what you're doing wrong. Gotta have.
Yeah.
So it was messed up, man. I mean, and you're right. Tracking is important. I can't stress it enough. I mean, the story. I caught the dude watching porn during the shift. Bro, it wasn't even, it was scary because not scary as in like harmful scary, but it was, I guess so. He was a younger dude and he was great accent, great voice, and he was hungry. But like and everybody knows because it's in the paperwork you sign, it's in your agreement that we are time screenshotting your computer.
Yeah.
He's over here. He's watching porn, but it's not him watching porn. He is watching porn, categorizing porn, and saving them into files. And we're pretty sure that because where he lived, like in a tourist area, he's taking, because they were like voyeur pictures of like women out, like just walking down the street. So, and he's categorizing by name, like these different girls, and he's grabbing screenshots off their social media and like saving them. And like, so I'm not even joking, dude. It was like, because again, this is all on our Time Doctor. So when one of my people had told me that what was happening, I went to investigate.
Yeah.
And the worst part is when I scrolled too far down and I saw pictures of his own private area, and I was forever unclean. I cannot get that image out of my head, even when I tell the story today.
Oh god!
And it was like, and so what I did.
The negative side of Time Doctor.
Yeah, right. The negative side of it. So what I did was I sent out a company email just to everybody saying, hey, just as a reminder, you're not allowed on social media, Facebook, we're tracking on Time Doctor. Everything you do needs to be safe for work, blah, 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 blah. Immediately he goes in, he's trying to delete all the screenshots, right? And like, I was like, no. So we stopped it. We cut it off. So that way we had it recorded, like because we give red flags for everybody. Like we give you like what do you call them? Like report cards. So then he tried getting around it by getting it on another computer, right? But so he was working off of another computer, but he fucking idiot didn't realize that he still had Time Doctor on the original fucking computer. So now we were like recording 2 computers and we're still watching him like save these pictures of these women. And it was just fucking weird. So we ended up letting him go eventually. It just went down.
Gotta cut ties there, yeah.
It was horrible.
That's the type of people you don't need to leave.
It was horrible. I posted, I don't know if you guys remember, I posted it all over social media because I was like, I was like this, and it wasn't normal shit, dude. It was next level stuff. Teach their own. Everyone's entitled to their own thing. Just not while you're working, bro.
Seriously.
If he could have used that towards good creative things, like instead of file storage and management there, maybe like something along the lines of REI Op Center, he'd be a lot better off.
Categorizing your illegal voyeur pictures and how to be a creep.
Yeah.
He could have sold a course on it.
Yeah. And it's been interesting for us here. I mean, looping back to like tracking and how important that is, and I mean, I'm gonna let Carlos speak to it because he was the one in the weeds. But I would say we haven't really been good at tracking until like the last year and a half. I would say it started really well, and even this quarter, we're like making further enhancements into building better scorecards, and it's really like insightful to see the effects. And back in the heyday when we were on Podio and the only software that was automated on Podio, and we had a crap ton of customers and a great ton of revenue. Not to say we aren't now, but just like that was like imagine the beginning of like SMS kind of software and how like big and awesome they were, and then stuff happened. But anyways, like when you look at the business is like health score in terms of looking at profit, we were great. It was awesome. We were taking our profit, we were reinvesting into building an off Podio platform. Life was great, and we didn't have any like struggles per se that were going on. Customers were happy. We were building things. Like we had good support. So at the time, we're like, I don't know, we don't need to track anything. Everything's great. Just like look how we are monthly. But then you drill down into the employees that you have on your payroll, and you're like, well, wait. Now, Carlos, I'll say, Carlos is here. It has been since the very beginning. Is still here because he's phenomenal and great at his job, always motivated and working hard. But I mean, I'll let you take him here, Carlos. Like, like, how has it changed from a time period where things weren't being tracked to being tracked, and even how that's like helped you? You were already a very self-motivated person, and now what's happening?
Yeah.
Rap
on that. Yeah, rap on it.
If somebody, I'll drop a beat here in my head and rap to you guys. It's yeah, it's like the amount of clarity or just like understanding. Like it's almost anything that you do. Like I was a big macros guy, for example, like tracking everything that I ate. Just to like know, like just because I liked that clarity of understanding and weighing in every single morning how a certain amount of calories, what types of fat, carbs, protein, how that would affect like my body composition. Like doing that, it's tedious and it definitely takes some of your exhaustion. But if that's something that you want to focus on, which I did for a long time, it's like there's no better clarity than that, than tracking and having systems in place to do that. Like what's your input and then seeing your output the next morning when you weigh in. So how it went was like, like you said, we were happy. Everybody was drinking Italian spring water. Didn't really have a care in the world in that regard. Still drinking spring water, but now it's like we just have such an understanding of timelines. Like I could say, hold please for 10 seconds, and I can have an idea of how many leads we have from one partner this month in comparison to a different partner in January in 10 seconds. So it's like the clarity and insight in understanding that. Like I always kind of relay it back to something like personal. Like I could literally go on my iPod right here, greatest touch, iPod Touch, fantastic tool. I could literally pull up my weigh-in app right here, and I could look at data since like 2017. Anything I want to see on there. So I think it's like the specificity of clarity that you have, and we're still optimizing it, like shooting for certain monthly revenue goals, tracking that, building out the partner program, which is absolutely fantastic. We're about to blow the doors off of that. But yeah, I think it's the specific clarity that you can get in data and like different time frames. It's just like, and you didn't know about it until you do it. You don't know about it until you do it. But yeah, it's a completely different world. Absolutely completely different world.
It's like an immediate feedback cycle that doesn't require a manager to give feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, like, oh shoot, I'm not like this metric is not being hit. How can I improve? Do I need to seek out help, as opposed to somebody like trying to dig in and then telling you something you didn't already know? If it's there in front of you and evident, then it immediately incites motivation.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though. I'm the opposite. So I want to play devil's advocate, because a lot of times when we're on this show, We talk about you got to do this, or here's what I do. Me. Look at this. Do this. This is the path to excellence type thing, right? That's how everyone talks. That's not me. I fucking hate KPIs. I hate Excel. I hate numbers. I hate why? Because I'm good. I'm just a guy who does shit. I was raised to sell. I was raised to do work. My dad taught me labor and work hard and work ethic, all that stuff. So me and John had talked about it before. I don't track stuff because my goal is just to win. I don't need numbers to do that because I know I am. I don't need somebody tracking Time Doctor because I'm just good. I don't need script training because I'll memorize the script and practice myself. So all these things that I do, plus I'm a visionary. My thing is big pictures. I don't like, so Carlos, I'm sitting here like Carlos is the complete opposite of me. He's granular. He's keeping shit. He's keeping shit from 2017 on his fucking iPod Touch. I'm over here buying an iPod Touch, thinking how cool it is to use all these features, then never doing it. Because the idea of it is better than the actual doing of it, right? So I just wanted to say to get to their level, because Carlos is talking about dialing everything in, and John's like, here's what we're doing, revenue goals, and we're doing this, and we're tracking everything. And although I said I am, the only reason why I'm doing it is because I hired people to do it. There was no such thing as tracking inside my organization. So even when I went to my first, what do you call it, like seminar thing, and they give you the Excel sheets and you're like, punch these numbers in and track this and this and this. I did it for like a week or two. And then guess what? You still got to update it, right? Like Carlos, in order to get that data, has to go in there, make sure his watch is synced, or make sure he's manually entering it in the macro tracking. I tried that for like a day. For a day, because you got to keep doing it. And that, for a visionary, for somebody who likes the big idea thing, like I couldn't do that. Like I'm not, what do you call it? Like what would that be? Like the doer. I'm not a guy who actually does like I couldn't do that. Like, so I had to hire somebody to do it, and I have people who do that for us now, because otherwise I let it fall to the wayside. And so that's just for everyone out there who's like, I can't do that. I've tried it, and I am epically failing. I want you to know I epically fail at it all the time. So I had to hire somebody to do those Excel sheets, put the numbers in, provide them to me. And I force myself to look at them by hosting meetings on those numbers. And if I don't want to look like an idiot, which I don't, it's my company, I show up knowledgeable about them. So those things force me to do it. I wish I had your guys' ability. I wish I did. Like I love tech, but I'm the guy who buys it to have it and then just lets it sit there and collect dust.
Well, I have a few points there. So similarly how I always say that I'm surprised when Papa P says he's an introvert, which he said a couple times on the show, I am not a integrator whatsoever. I am like 99% visionary. With the two things that we're talking about as far as understanding sales CRMs, which we've mentioned on the show, similar to how you do your training teams, John and I would meet every day at like 4 or 4:30 for a quarter, 6 months, something like that. And we would go through every single thing in our sales CRM. I think there's a power of doing temporary grinds of mental exhaustions in things that you don't like. So that time period where we met every day forced me to kind of just like vocalize to him what we need to do as far as following up with leads, seeing how they're tracked, notes, recordings, everything like that. 30 minutes maybe, 15, so 30 minutes.
Not a long meeting, just a quick wrap session.
Quick wrap session on the end of the day. So I think there's power in temporary periods of like mentally exhausting or grinding yourself in things that you don't like doing. Because I don't like doing that. I didn't like doing macros, but my appreciation for understanding, I did not like doing macros. I haven't done them for three-ish years, but I did them for a period of 4 or 5 years. Weighed out everything I ate, did that. And now I know off the top of my head, I almost know every single thing I eat, how many calories and the breakdown of it is. So even I know like a baseline, like what I'm eating in a day. So that period of grinding, now for the rest of my life, I kind of just have an idea of what everything is. Similarly in sales. So I kind of see it as a mix of temporary, mentally exhausting, grinding, doing something that you don't like to do, or something that you're maybe not innately doing, like me and you are visionaries, doing integrator type stuff. And I think there's power in minimal effective dose. So like I love the Michael Hyatt full focus planner. It's not stuff that I necessarily like doing, but I love it because I know that if I do that as my minimum effective dose, it's almost like bumpers on a bowling alley. Like if I do that, I can at least keep myself in place where the rest of my day I can be creative and flow and just do to what I enjoy doing. Same thing with the systems I set up for nutrition and staying healthy and staying similar weight and body fat pretty much year round, except when I go to Asheville and eat chicken nuggets and pizza every day with my nieces. So all I do now is weigh in. All I do right now is weigh in as soon as I wake up in the morning, and I have that data collected for 5 years. But it took me a while to do that, where I can just weigh in. I count to 15, and that's all I do for the day, and I'm done. I'm not like entering stuff in at this point since I did the temporary grind, minimum effective dose.
All right, hold on. I'm gonna take what the two of you just said, put in
condense that,
and then we can just keep going around. But okay, cool. Here's something like Brandin, you were talking about like I just do it. I'm motivated. I want to win. I don't need a tracker to tell me like how long I've been on the phone because I'm just gonna be on the phone. And I would say that there's a lot. I won't say there's a lot of people out there. There's not that many people out there. I do think a strong percentage of real estate investors that find some success have similar things because they're just like go-getters and they're great salespeople, and those types of things make up a great salesperson. But to your point though, when you started to have a team and you wanted to sound intelligent to a team, you had to start tracking it. But I'm just curious too, from that standpoint, even if you are a single operator or maybe you just got one other person, can you respond to changes in the market, changes in the world, if you're not having some understanding of like, this campaign's doing better than this type of list is doing better than this? Like, does that give insight into how your business can be better, even if it is just 1 to 2 people in the team? You're muted. I don't know how, because it doesn't show you're muted. But we can't hear you. No. No. I'm sure like there's some groundbreaking, just like deep.
Now?
There it is.
There it is. Yeah, I had to switch my microphone. I don't know why. I guess all I was going to say was, yeah, I definitely think you can. I think what a lot of people, I think the biggest thing of what you're saying here is, can people pivot and do that if they're tracking that? Can you do it without it? I don't think you could do it without it because you don't know your numbers, but I think the biggest thing to take away from what Carlos says is he does it every day over the course of years, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a misconception that all of a sudden you're going to hire somebody, they're going to go retroactive in your system, and you're going to have enough data to understand how your company operates. It's not true. Like, I'm still learning, like, as I hired my data guy earlier this year, and like he's really putting together everything for us. My data is still gathering. It's a collection of data. You need to acquire it over a long time. It's not something that all of a sudden you put it together, you're like, boom, I got this. I understand that, So there's that expectation of like, you have to keep doing it. So for that solopreneur, like, you just got to do it. You got to put it together, hire somebody to do it. And over the course of time, you will be able to pivot because it's the changes in it. You gotta notice your cycles and your up and downs and what's normal, your baseline. Mm-hmm. So like I could tell my baseline of stuff because I have enough averages. I have enough time frame to do it.
Yeah. And I think it doesn't have to be complicated, right? Like, I mean, Carlos measuring his food every day and then, measuring himself the next morning, like, not to say that's to an extreme, but like he went in with a purpose and he has the knowledge now to make really great decisions about his body. But, you don't have to jump off the deep end and try to be an Olympic diver on day one, right? I've often spoke to people who come into Invest Reviews because we have a great campaign tracker with a cost tracker inside of it. And if you put in the data, if you put in the costs, IF3 tracks all of your KPIs for you automatically, and you get your ROI. However, and like it boggles me, honestly. I'm an integrator. Boggles my mind that it's hard for people to do that. But I just tell them, I was like, put an item, like an appointment on your calendar, for 2 hours on the first of the month and just go do it for the month behind.
Yeah.
Like the previous month. And then you'd be good and you'd have a good understanding. So, and like Carlos was saying, it took him like 30 minutes per day, like us meeting to become confident in his role as like a sales manager for Investor Fuse, and he is confident now. Like we meet once per week now, and he runs the meeting, and I just sit there and go,
And I wouldn't even say it's confidence. I would almost say it's almost, and I'm speaking for Papa P and myself here in a loving way. It's almost like training a dog. It's not confidence. I would say it's more so getting someone to do something that's not fully aligned in their personality over a course of time until you can kind of mend them to doing something. Because it's not confidence. It's just like me and Papa P, like our personality type may not see the value, like the immediate return or value on tracking or entering stuff in, where it's like once we do it to a certain period, 21 or 66 days, whatever they say the habit is, then we kind of get in the rhythm until we see the return on our time doing that. Like, oh, this is pretty cool. Like, I have clarity on why this is important to do that. And we might logically understand it, but I think it's more subconscious, like personality, where it's just like something deters us from doing it or wanting to do it until we actually get into the habit of doing it. And that's the same thing with sales too, because it's like doing that too, I'm understanding like, hey, we're going to build this out, processes, where eventually we want to blow this up, where we have, same thing with REI Op Center. Eventually we want to have other people doing sales at Investor Fuse. We probably want to have somebody doing sales. You guys probably want to have someone doing sales at REI Op Center, someone doing demos. So it's like the temporary personality change, if it's not a personality fit of you doing integrator stuff, and then the grand scheme of things, realizing like, hey, we're doing this to eventually outsource, or not outsource, but hire somebody to do this role that you're doing.
Setting those expectations is key too for employees, and like, making sure so my team knows. So every Monday, when we have our like what some people call level 10 high level meeting, whatever you want to say, and we go over stuff, it's understood that we go through the numbers of what we're looking at, call center stuff, call data, dashboard data for our marketing channels, all that. But the biggest thing is you also have to understand that it's always changing. So like you got to, when you read the numbers and we're reading them, we have to bring in the qualitative and the quantitative analysis, right? So you can look at just the quantitative, the numbers aspect of it. But a lot of times our numbers change because maybe we fired 2 people. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe our call center went down by 2 people, so our leads were lower. Or maybe we lost a closer, hired more closers, and didn't have enough leads for them. So you got to look at all those things and having that expectation. So like you have had Carlos run the meetings, like our marketing manager starting to run our Monday high level meeting with all of our people, and and even with like my sales meeting, we do the same thing every day, and that I had to build in like a dog. Because it goes against everyone's nature. We have a certain rhythm to our meetings. We have a meeting rhythm. You start with what you did yesterday. Give me your numbers. Tell me your calls. Give me everything you did. Any problems, anything, boom, okay. We go over that. Then we talk about what are you going to work on today? Like, what are you working on? Or Monday, we talk about what do you got for the week? Like, what are your deals you're working on for the week that you expect to be following up on or closing? And then we go immediately into whatever that day is for script training, systems training, whatever it is. And we spend the last 45. But the problem is when I first started doing it and I'd leave somebody in charge or something, they'd get away from it. And they would just be like, okay, well, let's do this. And no, you got to start and you got to do it. It's just for everyone not watching, I'm just moving my hand up and down in a chopping motion because you got to follow the system step by step. So I think that's important, man. And because that's the only way, bringing it full circle. That's the only way, knowing your numbers, training your people, not like dogs in a negative way, but in a way where it's repetitive so they can understand it. That's the only way you give them the proper expectations for them to know what's required of them. So when you do fire them, they understand why they're being fired. So when I fired this girl on Monday, we had a talk, and I told her what I was not happy with, and she understood. And ultimately, I did tell her I believed in her, and I said, I believe in you. I just don't think you believe in you. I said, but here are the metrics you weren't meeting. We talked to you in this training session. In this training session, you got these one-on-ones. So you're able to do those things because we're tracking them. So that's how I decide when I fire somebody, right? Is like, I'm looking at that. And so, I gave her a long leash because she was a good person, but ultimately the numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
Ultimately, you can't sit here on a Monday meeting every Monday wondering why your conversion rate on your sales team isn't high and why you have more leads in qualification than in your opportunity pursues. And then you're looking at the reason, you're like, why is she still on this team? Because how does that make the rest of it look? And so that's the thing. And kind of getting off topic is why I mentioned to John when we were talking about what to talk about, I said, do you treat your employees like family or like a team? I used to, when I was young in business, when I didn't really own a business, I used to say, oh, my employees, my company is like a family to me.
Yeah.
Now I say it's like a team. Why? Because family, I may not like, I don't get a choice. We may argue all the time. You may not even be good for me, but you're still there. I don't have a choice. But a team, every member on a team needs to produce because you're resulting and holding back the rest of your teammates. And you have a choice as to who's on your team. And you only want the best members on your team. And when you are, you have the camaraderie of a familiar situation, but you're treating it like a team. Yeah, you're that common ground of camaraderie, and you're getting together and you have your get-togethers and your good rapport with everyone. And you have stories and inside jokes. But you're looking at them like a team and say, he adds value, she adds value, he adds value, she adds value. That's why we're all together. A family, you could look at a cousin or a sister or a brother and say, they're pieces of shit. I mean, we all have that person in our family, right? Where you're like, wow, they're fucking bum. Like, I wouldn't even want to work with them or like play on a sports team with them. Yes. So I thought that was a big lesson too, is like, so when I fired her, I looked at, and that's what me and my manager, when we talked about, is she good for the team? What does this do to the other team members? Is she pulling her weight versus family? Like, oh, I treat everyone like family. They're all my family. My company is like my family, and we all love each other. But I can tell you from experience, if that's what you're thinking, you got fucking problems within your company because you're keeping people longer than you should.
Yeah. I mean, it's like there's that common kind of like process, right, of like family-owned business, right? It plays into all of this, right? Family-owned business, they bring in somebody, son, daughter, cousin, whatever, and they're going to come and be a part of the business, and they don't work as hard as everybody else, and everybody else
you can't. I've been there, bro. I did that.
Yeah, and then everybody else can feel it. And I like the first business I started working at Target, and then I worked at this outdoor store, family-owned small business here in Orlando. And yeah, like there was times you're like, man, that family member is not doing things that I'm doing. And they're being treated like gold, and it brings down everybody else. And it's the exact same thing if you treat your employees like family. If one of them is, and the other thing too is like, you got to remember, like, when you're the business owner or a high level like manager, executive in there, you kind of get a little detached from the employees. But they, like, people on the same level, like, they know the other people, they can see the other people, they're looking at this other person's metrics, and they're like, these aren't matching mine. Why are they still here? Like, why are they being favored still? Yeah. Like, they can so clearly see all of that, and it can
and we're ignorant of that.
Demoralizing.
I had talked to one of my ex-employees after a while. We still get along, and I was talking to her, and she was telling me, because we had one person who was always late, always had problems, and I liked him, so I kept him on. This was like a year or so ago, 2 years ago, maybe, whatever. I liked him, so I kept him on because I believed in him. And I remember he was always late, missing meetings, all that. And I remember when she had told me, yeah, I met with this other girl on our team. I met with her. And she was saying to me, well, why does he always get all these privileges? Why do I show up all the time? And she wanted to start showing up late because he was showing up late. And they were wondering why they had to participate in what I was requiring of them when he went. And I didn't know any of this in the background. And needless to say, that entire version of my team crumbled and fell apart. I lost every single person in some way. I had to rebuild. And it was mismanagement and treating people because I liked them, not because if they were a good asset to my team. So I'm always learning, man. I'm 38 and I'm still going. So, that's all that matters.
Never stop learning. Life will get boring when we stop learning.
That's so true.
I read a quote today. Gosh, what was it? I might have to get it from Daily Stoic. I might have to go grab it.
I follow them on Instagram.
Well,
I got them, bro.
the book as well, but it was something. I may have to go run to the kitchen really quick during a talk break. But it was something
today's?
about.
I was gonna look it up real quick for you.
It is. I think it is today's. It was either daily. I read Daily Stoic, Awareness, and no, it had to be one of those two books, either Daily Stoic or Awareness. But it pretty much said learning is the only thing that you can never get tired of. Let me go grab it really quick. I'll be right back.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, man. Is like sometimes I have set myself back with some of the mistakes I've made. You know, definitely financially, definitely that. But I also feel like when you're building something for the long term, time's irrelevant. Like, I'm not here to make money for a short time. I'm here to make it for a long time. And I really want my processes and my team and like the company to like, even what we're doing with REI App Center is the same thing.
Outlive you.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes I question that statement too. We can talk about that another time. But that statement has been really weighing on me a lot.
Mm-hmm. I just like I like the
statements.
Yeah. Outliving whatever, like multi-generational wealth, different topic. But the idea that you could step away and
that's different.
And things can continue to go, like they're not crutched on you. It's just this is the standard, and everybody functions on their own that way.
Carlos, did you get it?
I do, and it was not from one of the two books that I read this morning, but it's from the 5-Minute Journal, which always has a nice quote. So this is another perfect example of minimum effective dose, just hardwiring in gratitude checkpoints at the beginning and end of your day. Perfect example. Leonardo da Vinci has some very, very good quotes. You guys may think this is a Papa P quote sipping on some Italian water, but this is actually Leonardo da Vinci. Learning is the only thing the mind never exhausts, never fears, and never regrets.
Deep.
That's deep. That is
very deep.
I love that.
I love quotes, man. I love these types of things to think about.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, listen, I thought that was pretty good. Let's move on. I wanted to not to cut you off there, but I was really thinking when you left, I was like, oh shit, I really hope Carlos comes back with this book.
I appreciate that.
Just fucking leaves. It's like,
let me go grab this book real quick. I'll see you guys.
It's
walks
like
across the street to Target.
Yeah, like going to the bathroom at dinner and never coming back. No, man, I saw Pulse of the Week. Just to kind of preface it, I get emails all the frickin' time from everybody trying to sell me or join or sign up or do something. I'm on all these mailing lists. I got a special one from my man Carlos, and it was something, and I'm always into robotics, AI. I'm into data. We all know that, even though 5 minutes ago I told you guys I fucking hate it. I'm into all that stuff. And then you had sent me an email, and correct me if I'm wrong here, about something relating to a marketing channel that uses AI that you're going to be hosting a podcast on here in maybe an hour or so. And I was confused because I read the excerpt of what you were saying, and it's called like Titan. What is it?
Titan X.
Titan X. And I was reading it, and I didn't quite understand what you meant because I read the sales pitch about new marketing channel coming along. You were like Eminem. This is your one moment. Don't lose yourself. You know what I mean? Like
his mom's spaghetti.
Yeah. You need to grab it by the balls and take it. Can you please explain to me exactly what this is or why I need this? Because like I didn't sign up for the registration. I was like, you know what? I need to just go straight to the source. I need to figure out if I need to sign up for this because I need to know more about this Titan X.
Yeah, for sure. And we can definitely do some further Eminem rap battles if you want as well. So I wouldn't classify it as a marketing channel, but exactly what happens it's a response to your marketing channel and lead nurture they're building in as well. So Will is definitely deep thinker. Really, really interesting guy. Tyler's former business partner, coincidentally and ironically, if you knew that. So two young studs in the industry, and he's seen a problem with support in general, even outside of real estate, filling out support chat, things of that nature. And The email, what it talks about is kind of working with tire kickers or people that respond to your marketing, and you're spending time following up with them. Papa P's, team is spending call time trying to follow up with these people, where he's brought in a solution which he calls like artificial intelligence chat, which is essentially text messaging back and forth when leads come in from marketing channel, and in the future they want to do it for lead nurturing. So almost instead of like an action drop down of scheduling a manual follow-up and or a sequence and or resurfacing, you could send it to Claire, who is their artificial intelligence, and she'll text on your behalf and essentially try to dig up conversations when closers or other lead managers could get back into that conversation. So I don't want to give away too much, but that's essentially what it is. What the pitch is going to be starting off and what companies are doing live now is sending out direct mail to distressed sellers. And the call to action on the piece of mail is text this number to get your offer. That essentially will start the conversation with their artificial intelligence, Claire, and pretty much just kick it to you inside of Investor Fuse, and then ideally get it ready for you when they're ready to either get an offer or talk to a closer or something along those lines. Also looking at getting it into websites like a chat bot, where it essentially go to text, and then the plan after that is then lead nurturing to use in addition to like sequences, resurfacing, and stuff. Okay, so it's interesting. You could play some DA here if you like, for sure.
No. I know you think that's what I'm going to come at you with, but I was watching something on social media, and they made a joke, and they were like, I had this AI robot listen to like 1,000 Taylor Swift songs or whatever and try to write a song, and it came out like, I'm sure you've seen them. It came out totally debauched, so you just totally botched up, just way off base. Like, and it's supposed to, and so I'm wondering how accurate can this be? Better than a VA?
The technology side of this.
Yeah, like how? That's so my only
true
thing.
AI,
like, how accurate is this?
There's AI, like true AI, and then I like to call fake AI. How much true AI do you think actually exists out there?
I don't know. What was that? Sophia robot?
Yeah, there's like maybe 10 or so of them. And I'm sure somebody can come after me for being wrong. True artificial intelligence of a computer that can actually come back to you with anything in the world based upon the response that you give it is very minimal. Now, what you can do is you can use incredible technology to process information, create responses from it, and then understand like paths, basically. So, and that's what TitanX has done. So they've spent 2 years gathering seller information, funneling it all in together, and creating a continuous learning environment in which technology can respond intelligently
to
a seller. Yeah, machine learning, but it's more complex than that. It's like the next level of machine learning.
I feel like you're avoiding your question. Is it better than My Filipino VA?
I have seen the chats, and I was very impressed with how they flowed. There's definitely ones that's, the occasional ones that seem strange, and that's the thing, though, is that they have a great dev team that's constantly looking for those and then fixing the conversations. Whereas previous like chat bots and learning environments, you'd have to do it yourself. You'd install it on your website. It starts gathering your responses. You're in charge of the continuous learning element of it. He's compiling it all from all the users and doing it for you, which is pretty incredible because you're able to do it a lot faster.
So you're saying that makes it more accurate.
Absolutely, yes.
So if I tell this robot to go fuck his mother, would it know that he has no mother and he would come back at me? Or would I confuse it? Because you ever tried doing that to Siri, and Siri does not respond to you appropriately. She does not have a good comeback for that.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. What we'll give away on the webinar is you can actually text without any charge or anything. You could interact with Claire.
Oh, wait a second. Whoa. Hang on. Where is this? How can I do this?
I can ask Will. I know we're going to talk about it on the webinar. I can shoot him a Slack, but there's a way that you can text to engage.
John, drop a link for people to
I'll
register for this webinar so we can fuck with this Claire and see how legitimate it is. Because I'm questioning legitimacy, but I'll tell you what, because I always do that, right? Whenever there's a chat bot, I'll just spew off profanities of things just to see what it does.
Well, what's interesting,
I was a kid.
That's definitely,
there we go.
That's definitely hilarious. What's interesting though, and I definitely get a lot of the perspective of it, is like, how annoying is it to fill out forms for anything, looking at cars, any type of thing like that?
Yeah. Hard.
Where they're almost getting them on the website side of things as well, getting them into a text conversation with Claire, instead of having to rely on your overseas team.
You're gathering the form data in the form of a conversation instead of in a form. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So are you going to tell me that this is potentially a new way to gather PPC leads? Instead of having them build out forms, you could maneuver this to be having a chat with. I need to see how legitimate Claire is.
Dude, do it.
Claire is legitimate.
And I'll Slack you as well when I hear from Will. I'll shoot him a message. And I'll just get you plugged into Claire.
Oh, I like that term, plugged in. I want you to know it pays to have connections, guys. Pays to have connections. I'll let everybody know. Follow me on Instagram at MrRealEvative. I will let you know when I get this specialized link where I'll be fucking around trying to get Claire to respond incorrectly. I love it. So that's pretty cool, though. I get where you're coming from. I mean, that could be potentially very beneficial for somebody, especially, yeah, you're right, like gathering people's data on the PPC side or on the direct mail side. If it's accurate, like I could see benefits. John is vigorously typing away, like Brandon's doubting everything you're doing, guys. You need to get Claire up and running. Brandon is going to test it. Be ready.
No, I'm not.
Pretty cool. So 2 o'clock.
Yeah, it's cool,
today.
Man.
Link is right there. John posted the link.
If you're watching this link afterwards, the link will take you to the replay. So go to the same link.
Like replay action.
And I brought it up probably around a month ago. I really, really loved a Robert Wensley interview he did with Ryan Pineda. And don't quote me exactly, like I was just reading out of my 5-minute gratitude journal. But he was saying something along the lines of, if you yourself, a real estate person, whatever type of entrepreneur you are, if you're not building tech/software or automation right now, you're going to be left in the dust in 2 years. This is coming from the CEO and founder of InvestorLift. Tech, software, and AI. If you're not building that in your business, 2 years from now, you're going to be left in the dust from whatever industry you're in for the most part. So Will was here in person in Miami. He literally just stopped in for the day, picked him up at the airport, dropped him off the same night. But we watched a good chunk of that interview or the podcast. And it's just cool, innovative stuff. So, I mean, I totally get, I'm sure on the call, I hope a lot of people are on there live. We have a lot of people registered. But I want to hear the back and forth in his rebuttals to that. At the same time, I get that. It may not be as practical or logical as having a lead manager that's talking to every single lead on the phone. I think it's going to make sense at scale when you have a certain amount of leads. And this is definitely not for beginning investors' first mail campaign.
Okay, that was another question I had.
Yeah,
I got you.
His target audience is going to be more established people like Papa P that have tried all the marketing channels, they've done deals, they've managed teams. And then it's a little bit of a game like you guys could speak to in business of like, how many like people do I have to leverage and how much time do I need to allot them, where it may make sense to pull certain levers like this, either changes in my marketing, changes in my lead intake, changes in how I'm doing follow-up. Is like the people that are kind of thinking about that are who's going to be a good fit for Titan X, in my opinion and Will's opinion.
Okay. I dig it. I'll keep an eye out for that link.
Well, bro, I'll Slack you for sure, and Claire can talk to you 24/7. That's another benefit too.
Shit.
She'll Slack you 24. She can Slack with you, or I'm sorry, text with you 24/7. I'll Slack you Claire's number, and then you can text with Claire.
That just doesn't sound right, but I understand. On another note, before we finish this off, I just wanted to say it looks like CPI is not over 9% now. 9%. It looks like our inflation continues to get higher. Gas prices on the way up were extremely high, $4.50. There was a spot in Virginia. Where were we? Well, we were like North Carolina, North Carolina, South Virginia area. And it was only $3. It was almost $4. It was the cheapest we'd seen, but it was a small little gas station. But I mean, it's getting crazy, man. It's getting crazy out there. But deals are still selling. Still seeing properties going off the market overnight.
Same. I have that house across the street is selling, and I know another one like in Lake Mary. Sold super quick for still good prices. So,
and that's the feedback I'm getting from like a lot of investors that I know. So they are saying that the stuff, like one guy I was talking to, so one of his properties that's not selling, that's worrying him, is a property he took a flyer on. It's out in an area where there's not a lot of demand, right? So like in Florida, we have a lot of rural areas. So he took it out in like Frostproof where there's not a lot of buyers trying to live out in fucking Frostproof. So things like that, whereas a year ago it would have sold because somebody who wanted to live in another town would have just bought that and commuted because they were forced to. It's a great house on the lake, but things like that I'm seeing not sell. I also see price reductions on a lot of homes lately that are half-assed, like flips. They're just not completed nicely, where they just didn't renovate everything and they're still trying to get top dollar. I've also seen outdated homes, regular sellers, outdated homes not selling. So I am seeing some of that, but I do see nice homes, updated homes selling overnight in one day because I get notifications because I'm a member of the MLS. So I'll see in my market, I'll watch them come on, and then I get notified again when they go pending. And I'll be like, damn, there was a house that was like $900K. It was mildly updated. It was phenomenal location, beautiful like architecture, but outdated type thing. Came on the market. Next day I got pending status. I was like, damn. I was like, that was fast. I can't believe motherfuckers spent 900 G's on that thing. But, you know, when you're in the right location in this market, they're still selling, man. So you just got to buy right. Got to buy right and not take as many risks. Choices. And you can still make money. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. The days of not smart choices are past, or closing. Let's call it that way. Closing.
Yeah.
Got to make
smart choices. In the days of wholesalers sending shit out, like that's the thing. My message to wholesalers is, stop with the burrs, stop with the Airbnb, stop telling me because you got a high price deal. This is going to make, I saw one yesterday. It's like 300 G's. You're like, great burr property. And like, I'm like, bro, who the fuck is burring this in this environment right now? Like, where are they refinancing this thing for it to make sense? So that's the thing is I see a lot of those. And so we're going to have a lot of people backing out of contracts. So we're trying to take one down now where someone backed out of a contract. So,
nice, smart. The good wholesalers can come in and save those people.
Oh yeah, hopefully we'll see.
Awesome. Well, guys, enjoy Pennsylvania. Your lack of humidity up there. And,
follow me on Instagram and you'll see me hanging out. Yeah. Welcome back, Carlos. Well, I'll see you in a month, guys.
More dog posts. I love the pup running around on the treadmill and running around the yard and stuff.
Oh, okay. I got you. So it's not so much me as it is.
Well, no, that in addition, I'm a dog guy.
Guys. All right, man. This was wonderful. Right. We'll wrap it to you next week.
See ya.
See ya, guys.
Woo!